Good afternoon. My name is Turner and I'm delivering a presentation to you today about Australia Post, the strategy from the past to the current and then into the future. Australia Post, this presentation will go through the Australia Post history, key changes to the business model and why they've been made, key strategies for the changes so that they can occur and the implementation, and will Australia Post remain a government business enterprise or will it be privatised? So Australia Post is National Postal Service in Australia. It has 4,356 post offices, and in 2018 it delivered to 11.9 million individual locations throughout Australia. It started its life in 1809, and when the first postmaster in Sydney was set up, and the postal services were started in Tasmania. In 1812, the first post office was set up in Hobart. Postal services were set up in each of the colonies as mail and parcel deliveries became important, and in 1849 the colonies banded together to set postage rates across the country. In 1900 the colony postmaster generals met to determine integration into the Commonwealth Service in preparation for federation. In 1902, the Commonwealth Post and Telegraph Act was enacted, and this included post services and telegraph services, which became telephone services. In 1975, the Post and Telecommunication Services were split into the Australian Postal Commission, which was Australia Post, and the Australian Telecommunications Commission, which at the time was Telecom, and that's now Telstra. In 1989, Australia Post became a government business enterprise, and it operates under the Australian Postal Corporations Act of 1989. This act outlines the structure and responsibilities of the board, the functions and appointments to the board and who makes them and how, the commercial and service obligations that Australia Post works under. This act legislates that Australia Post has exclusive rights to receive and deliver letters and articles under 250 grams in weight within Australia, and it has the exclusive rights to produce postage stamps. No other postage stamps are legal tender. Commercial obligations are to earn a commercial rate of return and provide a dividend to their government shareholders, which is the one shareholder that in Australia Post. The service obligations include providing a letter service at a standard rate for carriage within Australia and its territories, and also to provide a letter service to all people in Australia regardless of where they live, and to operate that to a standard that meets community needs and expectations. So, why has Australia Post developed a new business model? Well, basically, Australia Post is changing from a letter-focused company to an e-commerce delivery company. And they were compelled to do this because the letter services, the number of letters that they deliver, reached a peak in 2008, and it's fallen by over 50% in the past decade. So, and this is because customers are changing to electronic communications such as email and social media. And this substitute is something that's occurring worldwide and is having effects on all national postal services. And because Australia Post needs to earn a commercial rate of return, pay the Commonwealth a dividend and maintain the Commonwealth equity in the company and provide a reasonable level of service, the business model is made so that the company can be sustainable and provide all of those items into the future. The universal service obligation does impose quite a significant cost, but it also provides opportunities which Australia Post is learning to leverage, particularly the delivery network and providing innovative services to a variety of customers. A SWOT analysis was done, and MarketLine did one, and I also went over and did some extra parts of it. So the strengths of Australia Post are that it has an unrivaled delivery network within Australia. It also has an amazing retail network of post offices. There's 4,356 across the country. And also it has really significant revenue growth over the last few years and has for quite some time. The threats are the changing letters business and competitive pressure from parcel delivery companies within the country. And also maybe some pressure from outside interests to change the business model. The weaknesses are that it's largely servicing one market, that is Australia. The opportunities, though, there's growth in online retail, and this includes growth in freight and logistics and the partnerships that we have at the moment. Also, modernisation and innovation opportunities for Australia Post. So the key strategies and implementation. So in 2017, Australia Post started implementing their One Australia Post strategy. This strategy is focused on customers, and it aims to deliver exceptional sender and receiver services to all customers. It's to engage all the stakeholders to unlock new opportunities that can then be passed on to everybody. And also to explore all options to ensure ongoing financial sustainability. There were 6 areas identified which have special focus. Capture international growth opportunities, the safety, health and wellbeing of their employees, strength of parcel delivery networks, enhancing the role in the community, bringing together sales and service teams to support the government and business customers, and uniting innovation and product activities so that they mesh better. International growth. It has been a part of the business for decades through traditional alliances with other national postal services, such as all of the ones around the Pacific Rim to form Pacific Rim National Service alliances. There's also, these national postal organisations have great opportunities to succeed in e-commerce and parcel delivery due to their extensive networks and the fact that there's high entry barriers into these networks, particularly the more remote parts of them. There's a JV with China Post that was set up in 2005, and this is basically for logistics and e-commerce within China and then outside into Asia as well and to Australia as well. And also just recently, Aramex is a wholly owned transport and logistics centre which is based in Singapore, and Australia Post has had a shareholding of this company for some time, but they now in December announced that they wholly own this logistics centre. Australia Post is also looking for investment opportunities in other freight and logistics businesses within the Asian region, which is growing significantly. To cater for this growth, particularly in the Chinese market, they opened a store with Alibaba on the Tmall, and this is to help connect Australian companies with Chinese customers. And another way is also the China Union Pay is available at post offices throughout Australia, and this is so Chinese nationals, whether they're students, residents, temporary residents, visitors, can use banking services at Australia Post, and also they can buy gift cards that they can use to buy products on Alibaba. The strength of delivery network is really, really important, and like all national postal organisations, they're in the best place to exploit the new e-commerce opportunities that are coming, particularly because they have these extensive delivery networks for letters, and they can quite easily adjust these and deliver parcels as well. The delivery network is changing from letters focused to parcels focused, as previously discussed, and this requires state-of-the-art planning and tracking tools, such as the tool called TIS, or Transport Information System, that Australia Post has, which is a world-first use of transport programming language, to link operations planning and compliance and live resource allocations within the business. The delivery networks are also there's parts of them in the marketing side to encourage other businesses to provide a variety of delivery services, because about 60% of online shops don't actually provide a service for fast deliveries, and in the future speed is going to be really important, become more important to customers when they're buying online. There's also been a change role of posties to deliver small parcels as well as letters, and this is providing sustainable employment and removing larger vehicles from the road. And in the 2018 financial year, about 40% of parcels were delivered by posties. The focus on increasing the delivery network has also led to a 46% increase in inbound parcels from overseas into Australia. 92.5% of all parcels were delivered at the first attempt, and 98.5% were delivered within target time limits, and this is well above target, which is 94%. Australia Post is also focusing on innovations as a strategy, such as their Fulfillio warehousing and fulfilment business, which helps small and medium-sized businesses increase their online presence, and also helps with storage and delivery of products. There's ongoing innovation in digital tracking for parcels and letters, and being able to choose delivery options for all customers. There's a digital ID platform that is winning awards from governments in its robustness and ease of use. And this is usually used by governments and larger businesses when you need an ID, and you can do this through the post office. They're also working with government and business customers to tailor, create and leverage delivery options and other marketing information to tailor solutions for those businesses. So, the future of Australia Post is bright, but will it survive as a government business enterprise? Well, Australia Post is one of the most commercially successful government business enterprises in Australia, and it provides an income every year to the Commonwealth through dividends and income tax receipts. There have been some calls from small new entrants to open up deliveries to post office boxes, for example, and there are also some sections of the economy media that Australia Post should be privatised because, it makes a lot of money and it could possibly make more if it wasn't government owned. The experience, though, with privatisation of airports in Australia doesn't tend to support this necessarily. When you have it seems when you have a monopoly business, like you do kind of with Australia Post, the economic benefits are not necessarily anything to do with who owns the business. If it's run as a commercial business within a government department, then it's quite often just as successful, if not more successful, as a government business enterprise as it would be with as a private company. The United States Postal Service has been facing the same sorts of questions from their media economists, and so they commissioned a study to have a look at what the risks and opportunities were. And so the risks basically were around security. That's mail fraud, identity theft, mail theft, terrorism, detection of suspicious packages. And they found that those risks are actually quite significant. And they also found that to mitigate those risks, if they were to open the market, would mean they would need to have a lot of mandatory training to be part of one of those businesses. You'd have to have a licensed business. It would need a national accredited body to oversee the training, and then an enforcement regime for breaches. We're lucky in Australia. We do actually have the Australian Federal Police who already prosecute mail fraud and all crimes in the Crime Act against mail. Canada, New Zealand and the UK have opened up their postal services to competition. And there's various differences within all of them. So Canada's retained exclusive access to their street furniture for Canada Post. This is basically letters and post boxes and the places that posties pick up their parcels of letters from. And it's actually illegal to own one of the keys or have one of the keys or locks in your possession if you don't have a reason to have it. The UK actually is interesting. They have 19 licensees, and in the first 2 years of operation, they found that although 20% of the upstream market and 40% of bulk business mail was done by licensees, but 99% of the letters that were addressed to locations within the UK were still received and delivered by the Royal Mail Service. So privatising doesn't necessarily change the business all of that much, particularly when there's trust has been built up over decades. So the challenges that Australia Post is facing include obviously the decreasing letters business, maintaining universal service standards and ensuring the business is sustainable into the future. The opportunities are enormous to grow parcel delivery services, logistics and end-to-end delivery services within Asia and potentially around the world. To grow alliances and joint ventures with other delivery companies, such as the freight ones that we have with Qantas, and also providing unique services tailored to businesses, governments, even individual people regarding deliveries, warehousing, and even marketing techniques. Australia Post has a bright future, and at the moment as a government business enterprise, it's supplying a really good product and an income for the federal government. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.